Okay, so there's this like hot topic going on right now about anonymity on the internet and people abusing anonymity, and also companies or governments abusing the lack of anonymity, and sort of like the benefit and cost of anonymity, and where the internet is shifting, and what's going on with these big companies that seem to be taking over the internet. So I just wanted to get a few thoughts out. I'm actually just brainstorming right now. Okay, so the way I'm imagining this, okay, I'm just gonna start imagining. So this person says, so this is the concept of tying your real identity to a person's anonymous posts. Okay, so the way I envision this happening is, let's say there's this thing called the trinet that's owned by Google, Amazon, Facebook, that people have accounts on, and those accounts, your real information is tied to those accounts, but from those accounts you can like create accounts on different services, for example Twitch or Reddit or whatever, and then those services you would be effectively anonymous. You would effectively be anonymous, but any activity you post would still be linked to that trinet account, and if you end up abusing, if you end up doing abusive behavior that would go against like trinet policy or whatever, then that would warrant, like if you're displaying like a pattern of abusive behavior, then that could be used to exclude you from the trinet perhaps. And maybe some parts of this could be protected, where if you don't have a trinet account, then you couldn't see it, so it's like sort of like a closed community. And other parts could be more open services with like media distribution or something. And so this person's saying maybe people could skirt the system, so the US government is going to execute people access to issue. If people express these horrid views in real life. Okay, so like the people who do this shit in front of their house or whatever, like these people probably wouldn't have accounts on this service, I assume, because their pattern of behavior they exhibit would show that they are spreading hate speech, so that would prevent them from fucking with people on the trinet. And then I'm reading some YouTube comments about, okay, so this is saying like, there are countries in the world where you can have dead or in prison have the wrong opinion. So this is making me think about the concept of globalism and the fact that some of these companies are becoming more powerful than governments. So what happens? Like, obviously the whole world's getting connected. We're launching satellites all the fucking time. There's sort of like this increasing connectivity happening. And I think to apply kind of the same standards for everybody across something like a trinet would make sense regardless of country. So in this case, you'd have these companies that have your information, and if someone brought up the example of someone in Saudi Arabia is talking about being an atheist and why there isn't a God. So it's like, the trinet would be protecting your identity. This is confusing. I don't know. It's sort of the intersection of governments and like global internet providers. So yeah, I mean, like, look, in my view, this person should never get in trouble with their, like, they should never get thrown in prison or put to death. Like, this is like extreme, but let's say instead of this they were doing something abusive to someone else online. The consequence, like the worst consequence of that would be like kicked off the trinet. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's shit like terrorism where it's like governments get involved and like sometimes consequences are very illegal and should result in certain things, but yeah, this is I don't know, we're talking about such a complicated issue. Like, this is so complicated. We got into a really complicated conversation, everyone. You see this? But I just kind of imagine this thing where it's like, okay, we have internet beamed across the entire world. We have this kind of like kind of group of powerful services that are providing I guess what you'd call fair, sort of like a fair system where abuse of other people is not permitted or encouraged, it's more discouraged. Now, who's gonna decide those rules? Well, that's actually a fucking clusterfuck, right? And, you know, it's interesting, because it's like, there's all this, like, stuff with, like, nationalism going on, and, like, but if you think about it, people are, like, spread everywhere, and people have different beliefs everywhere. Like, your neighbors could have different beliefs from you. So, like, this concept of, like, nationalism seems a little weird to me, especially as we all become more connected online. As memes and beliefs start to proliferate across the globe, different people in different places could have different beliefs, and I think that geolocation is not necessarily like a big factor as much anymore. So then your location in like the physical world becomes less relevant, but it's sort of like your location, I guess, on your worldview, like the position of your worldview, like the maybe position's the wrong word. I'm thinking of it in some kind of like space of like moral values or something. I'm not talking about physical space, but yeah, this is complicated as fuck, right? And so, you know, like, presumably there would be like different levels of morality, such as the whole thing that has been incited here with me taking an issue with like the morality of kiwi farms, right? Or at least the posters in my thread, because I haven't read other threads. But I guess it's just like we're kind of butting into this issue where it's like, okay, I think I've found some moral murky territory here, and I think that maybe it would benefit humanity for this to get, I guess, what I called cleaned up a bit, right? About not necessarily, I'm not saying that like this person's real name should be shown here. That's not what I'm advocating for. I think sure they can be Mathis or whatever, but I also think that if someone on here is doing some really fucked up shit, it'd be nice to be able to like report them and like have that be sent up to like if we're sharing some kind of internet, like my entire life is online, right? Like I exist online, so I want that environment that I'm in to be like an environment that I feel comfortable being in. And sometimes I see shit that I really do take an issue to, and there's not really anything I can do about it except either getting my feelings hurt. And I noticed how this person said like fee protecting rhetoric. You know, the thing about feelings are really valuable. Feelings are like a way of, like, in my mind, I think feelings are a way of like really churning like many thoughts about complicated issues into something tangible that you can get action out of. So that is kind of a way of understanding like right from wrong. And so like it's not about like look, my feelings have been definitely hit by some of the posts on this place, and I think that like I think again I think I have a little bit of righteous outrage, you know? It's righteous. Like those feelings I get that there's something like wrong going on, I don't think those feelings are incorrect. I feel like it is a little bit overstepping some of this stuff. I think it is overstepping. And so I'm just brainstorming thoughts on what could potentially happen. Look, obviously this is a very sensitive issue for people. Anonymity is a huge fucking complicated thing, and it's a big deal, and I'm not trying to fucking make the rules. I'm not trying to make the rules here. I'm just literally brainstorming a little bit, because I do think that this is you think this is resolved or something? No, this is gonna evolve over time. This is evolving all the time. So I'm just pointing out that like some of the stuff I see online, I think it's kind of a problem. And also the way the internet is being headed, or the way it's heading with like these 3 mega companies kind of capturing out a lot of the internet traffic. What are the ramifications of that? How does anonymity and abuseful like stalking, trolling, or like hating and bullying factor into that? How does like malicious behavior of like trying to harm other people online, how does that get like mitigated a bit? Because and like how does misinformation stop getting spread too? And how can we all feel like satisfied with it? How do we all feel satisfied? Where we all feel free to have our voice. We all feel free to speak our mind, while also not getting fucking mobbed and stalked and harassed, you know? I guess the posters on here don't care because they're just anonymous, right? So that's like, I guess, a power they have over me. I guess like, so like, well, what in their mind is the solution then for me? If what I'm saying about the way the internet might be headed in, or like some of these brainstormed ideas, if that's all very wrong and like delusional or whatever, or like selfish, then what are they suggesting to me? Are they saying that I should just go full anonymous, and what, like I can't use my voice anymore, I can't use a webcam anymore, and I have to like change my name? And like, do you see the issue here? It's like I'm actually like building myself online. Like I am like existing online, and I'm uploading stuff, and I'm like kind of almost putting my soul online. And the people here are just trying to damage that. And I've got skin in the game and they don't, because they're just a bunch of anonymous hate accounts, whereas I am really putting myself out there. And I guess some of them might think that's a mistake on my part, or a naive or something, but also the potential is enormous to put yourself out there. It's enormous, I think. Like, think about the concept of like digital transcendence. That is a definite interesting concept to me. This is part of what I was talking about with like dreaming. Like my dreams and my wonder of like what is possible. Obviously, to me, putting a lot of myself out there is a way I'm like sowing the seeds of my own future. And this is also, by the way, why I think people, when they talk about like spreading genes and whatnot, I think they're kind of fucking missing the point, because like genes are a very slow form of evolution. And like that is already not even efficient enough anymore. Like we got, like, speaking of Brave New World, right? We got genetic engineering, look, like artificial intelligence is being developed, like shit is changing, and the form of evolution that is spreading your genes is not as relevant anymore. Now that doesn't mean I'm against you having children or whatever. Go have children. That is a wonderful way of like that, like, you know, you raise your children and that's a wonderful thing to do, but I also don't think that's for me. And I think a more so like spreading of my digital self, I think that's a more fair thing to do. And also that's why I got a little bit of amusement out of people like frantically scrambling to archive some of my video responses. I find that really funny because like you're really just doing me a favor. It's like, I think they think they're owning me or something. And you know, look, if in like 20 years, if in 20 years, like, I've completely changed my position on some of this stuff, which is very possible. It's very possible that I changed my position on some of this stuff. Like, what if over time I see that I was wrong about some stuff? That's totally possible, but you gotta show me that, or I have to see that and understand it. And I think that, honestly, I don't think I've been shown that, and I'm just giving my opinion. That's all I'm doing, is just giving my opinion. And I have no regrets about doing that. Anyway, thank you for listening.